Welcome to the School Owner Talk podcast, the longest-running martial arts school owner podcast in our industry. Join Duane Brumitt and Allie Alberigo as they share expert insights, proven strategies, and the keys to growing your martial arts business. Let's take your school to the next level. And now here's our hosts, Duane and Allie.
Welcome back to School Owner Talk, podcast where, we're going to get real on the highs and lows of running a martial arts school. I'm Duane Brumitt. Welcome, Allie.
Hey, thank you, man. And I'm Allie Alberigo, right? And I'm, great to be here with everybody.
So today we're going to dive into a topic that I think, every martial arts school owner actually faces, whether they want to talk about it or not. And I'm glad that we have that opportunity to be able to talk about, feeling tired, frustrated, totally unmotivated. We've both been there, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the truth is, look, right before we got on the podcast, you and I always chat. I call it counseling. I went out to breakfast with my buddies this morning and we just joke and talk about what goes on in our schools. And I said, okay, that was our counseling session for the week. You need to talk to somebody, but, we need to, see what the truth is. Even the most passionate school owners hit walls, right? All of us, no matter who it is, we have to keep showing up because that's what we do or else we won't have a school. But sometimes we're like, dude, look, I've been doing this for 34 years. And I've taught all over the world, had multiple locations. So I know what it's like. And sometimes you're just running on fumes.
Zig Ziglar used to say that, if you're on 24/7, if you're on all the time, then you're probably on something.
Yeah. So. Hey, look, I remember talking to my yoga teacher and, I had a conversation with him about energy, right? And he says, it's not about how much energy you have, it's how much energy you use. So like, for example, if you do a workout at the gym and you give 110% and you're to the point of exhaustion, you're not going to have anything left until you recover, right? So my teacher would say to me, he goes, you have to learn to restrain yourself a little, outwardly appearing to give out all your energy, but not really giving out all your energy, right? So he said to me, which is interesting from him, he said to me, he goes, it's like a Broadway star who's the lead of a play, and he's got 3 different show times that day. He can't do the best performance he ever did on the first one, and then the other 2 are going to be poor. He has to be on, 90% on every one of them. So he's got to conserve energy. He's an actor. So he acts like he's exhausted, but he really isn't. He's using some of that energy, right? Like, so as school owners, we have to do that. But I have to be honest, Duane, it's like, sometimes it's daunting. Like, I'm just exhausted. Like, I just say to myself, like, and I'm not exhausted physically. I'm mentally exhausted at times where, like, after doing this for so long, I sometimes, like, I'll go to class, I'll teach, I have a fun time, I videotape it, I post it, I'm excited, I say to myself, I can't wait to do it again and tomorrow. And then the minute I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking of reasons why I might not want to go in that night. And mind you, I have a school that runs by itself, just like you do. So without us, it'll still run and run well. But sometimes I'm just like, oh man, I don't know why. I was so excited last night, 8 hours ago. Now I wake up, 10 hours later, whatever it was. And I'm like, maybe I could take off tonight. I don't know if I have the energy. So it's hard to keep yourself motivated 24/7, 365 days a year.
Yeah, it's so true. And look, if you're feeling stuck, you're feeling frustrated, you're not alone by any means. And hopefully this episode is exactly what you need right now. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into it, right, Allie?
Absolutely. That's powerful and relatable. Everyone's going through it. So let's get going on this podcast, right? What the topic is: tired, frustrated, and unmotivated. Here's how to lead away from that feeling, right?
Yeah. So, look, I would say that we have the passion that we have. So we have the passion for our school, but there are times that we feel, that we're burnt out, that we've given everything we got. I know for me, when I was done teaching at the end of the night, by the end of the night, I was spent. And, of course I was younger. Now it's different. I'm spent as well, but I'm spent in a different way because when I was younger, I was naive and I didn't really know the pitfalls of a business. And so the mental stress sometimes wasn't always there. It was more physical. And as time has gone on, I found that I have the mental and the physical exhaustion now, and even sometimes more. Well, I would say it's probably 50-50, although it kind of fluctuates from time to time. But now that I understand that, cash flow is a big thing, where I didn't understand that when I had first started. I was just in it every day and hoping everything was going to work, and God forbid that it did. And it worked out fine. But I'm back into that same mindset now, though, with my second location, because it's just me, and I don't have the framework that I had when I first had my other studio, and even now with the studio, the first location, the way that it is now, I have a lot of staff, I have a lot of support, but you told me, you kind of warned me about opening up a second location. And isn't it funny that, you got to go through those pitfalls yourself sometimes?
Well, because here, and in your defense, right, no matter what I say, once you experience it, you start to see things clearer. It's like when we were kids, right? And our mom says, you'll see what it's like. Like all I cared about when I was young was getting a job and making my own money. And my mom and dad used to say, you know what? You have plenty of time for that. Enjoy life when you don't have to do that. Nah, I want to have a job. I want my own money. Now I've been working since I'm 15 full time. That's a long time. It's like, what is that? 45 years of working. And I've owned multiple companies and so on. And I'm still going. I'm 60. I mean, I could retire if I wanted to financially, but I'm still going. So in your defense, though, Duane, it's like, you want that school, you want to share, you want to have a second location. You think about it like the income would be a good thing, and all these other benefits. But then just overall drain of energy, now you're worried about two things. It's like, I can't imagine how these people do this, but there's a lot of them out there that have multiple families. Secretly, you know what I mean? Like they have a wife in this town and another wife and family in the other town. Like when one of my students he's an insurance guy, and they had a lot of insurance claims when 9/11 hit, and so many of them were double identities, where their two wives were coming forward to collect on the policy. He said there was hundreds and thousands of them that happened, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds and thousands. And I have the energy for one family. I can't imagine having two. So take that and multiply 2 dojos and 3 dojos. And the only way around that is by getting a team. And the hard part is pulling yourself out and letting people do it for you, and building staff. But that's work in itself too, because now you just shift from working in a classroom teaching to managing a whole bunch of other people that aren't going to, all do what you want, and you have to train them and retrain them and stay on top of them and so on.
No, definitely. And the silent weight of the decision fatigue.
Oh yeah.
That's there is, it's quite interesting. You look, I'll look at, like our 3 and 4 year old class, or even the 5 and 6 year old class, and you see these kids and how happy and just carefree they are, and I go, oh my gosh, I wish I was like that again, where I didn't have the decision fatigue. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that they have going for them, is they're just living. Like there's no decision fatigue at all.
Well, I often look at, and I know this is a silly kind of reference, but I also often look at my 2 dogs. They lay on the couch, they sleep 90% of the time. When we get home, I'm like, why are you so excited? Why are you barking so? Because they only have one thing to look forward to, is us to come home so we can spend time and love them. So all they care about is you as an owner, food so that they stay alive, and then a little bit of care and attention. Right? Wouldn't that be an amazing life if that's all we had? But I often say to my wife too, it's such a draining thing in life that everything revolves around money. no matter what you say, just if you, I once figured it out. I don't know what it was. I don't remember, but like how much it costs me per hour to be alive. Have you ever
Oh,
thought
wow.
of that?
No.
So like people are like, and I don't care if you're off the grid, right? Like if you're off the grid up in the mountains somewhere, so maybe you don't, you have your own solar, you collect your own water, but you got to pay for oil or gas or wood or electricity. Like there's certain things that you're going to pay for. For us, though, that we live in modern society, like if you had like a money clicker rolling, like right now as we're talking, all the electricity to run our computers and then to pay for the internet and then to pay for our insurance on a car that's sitting in our driveway and a car payment if you have it and the heat or oil or electricity or water, all of these things are running 24/7, right? If you think about that, and how much does it cost just by the hour to survive? That's what's so draining because we are so hooked in. It's almost like we're in the Matrix, right? We got these tubes in us, and that's what's keeping us going.
I think, and I would be afraid to feed that into Chat GPT and ask how much does it cost me to
Yeah,
live every day.
right. But think so. Here's why we're drained. You know, we run a school. People think it's all like I always used to laugh. I go, they think that there's a cartoon years ago called Scrooge McDuck, and it was a Disney cartoon, and he was a wealthy duck, and he would dive into his vat of gold, and he'd swim around in the vat of gold, and it was money, money, money for him. But I look at it where people think that's us, where we're running. At the end of the night, we just gather up our big bag that has the dollar sign on it, which, by the way, is trademarked and owned from Gene Simmons from Kiss. He owns that dollar sign.
Really?
That's a trademark. You can't print that on anything without him getting a cut of it.
So the dollar sign with the two
lines
going
through it. Yep.
Yep.
Amazing, right? Anyway, so everyone thinks we're running to the bank with bags of cash at the end of the day, and that life is just so good. It's so amazing to be a teacher. And I'm like, for example, I had a student the other day, an adult student who hasn't, he hasn't really trained as much as he used to, and he's always complaining. Like, so I was always giving him extra time. How come you do this? Well, this is why we do that. How come I do this? And how come I'm not there? And I'd always spend time, like probably about 40% more time that I would give to other students. And just recently, he wrote a little email to me that he's not, our mission together kind of has, come to an end. He decided to move on and go elsewhere. I don't know about whether he's going to go elsewhere in another school or whatever he's doing. But I say to myself, I regret because I gave so much time to that person that took out of my vital life energy, right? That I gave away. And now look what I got from it. I just decided it was time for me to move on. I'm like, I invested all that time. I should have been more conscientious about not sharing myself with that person or anybody. You have to be very careful with what you give. Right?
Yeah. No, well, you do. I mean, you really, you got, and this is hard to do, but you really should, if you're going to give, you give with no expectations of anything back.
Right.
That's what you should do. But unfortunately, we're human, and that's not how we view it often. But, I think some of the things that cause burnout are giving too much, like you talked about, wearing too many hats. Like, so you're the teacher, the marketer, the janitor, the leader, you name it, you are it. I would say lacking in systems, and then also delegation. I think sometimes we as martial arts school owners think that nobody else can do it as good as us, and that and by honestly, I felt that way where I'm like, nobody can teach how I can teach. But then I had to come to the conclusion that even if that's true, I'm going to burn out.
Right. And
if that's true, if I can get someone to teach at least 80% the way that I teach, then that would be a win.
Right.
And, kind of leaning on the 80-20 rule type thing, like, okay, if I can get 80%, that type of thing. But, and I know the 80-20 rules flip flop, but I was kind of flipping it where it's 80% of what I could do.
Yeah.
And so I had to be okay with that. And in doing that, that allowed me to then be able to delegate. And then some things I actually abdicated, which that one I shouldn't have done. And that's a whole nother, podcast in and of itself. But And then the other thing too, I think, is sometimes we compare ourselves to other people's journey, meaning, we meet other school owners and we see what they're doing, and then we go, oh my gosh, I don't live up to that, or I don't
Right.
do as good as that. So that comparison trap that can happen, even if we don't meet them, but we see them on social media. And, look, just like you said, I don't know if this was before the call or during the call that you said this, but you had brought up the fact that, you know, you're motivated, you're out on the floor, you're taking video, you're posting it. And,
Mm.
and then behind the scenes when you're done, you're like, oh man, like I don't want to go in tomorrow. But
Right.
that's not the way that it looked on social media,
Right.
right?
Right. Well, it's not even that. I'll take that one step further. Like I actually feel good about it. And then my energy just disappears quickly. Like for example, like I always joke, like I told you off screen, my wife will say something as simple as an innocent question like, "Hey honey, are you going in tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I go in every Wednesday night." And now the seed of doubt has been placed in my head. Should I maybe stay home? Then I start making up excuses. Well, maybe she just really wants to spend time with me. So maybe I can't, she's my wife. I got to spend time with her. So I'll start legitimately talking myself out of things. You ever watch or hear of the TV show called Alone? It's,
Yeah.
and people, like 10 people go out and they're dropped in different remote locations, and whoever lives and survives the longest wins the $500,000.
And then the first 2 days, there's always one that leaves because they
Oh
can't
yeah,
do that
yeah.
alone.
And I love when I get mad. I'm like an old man. I'm like Archie Bunker from the old TV show All in the Family. I'm yelling at the TV. Like the guy starts, you could tell right away when they're on their way out.
You mean without the racial
Oh yeah, of
slur?
course, without the racism. But anyway, I look at the show and the guy's like, yeah, so I'm here. I'm being really selfish by staying here. Like my family probably needs me at home. Like they start I could tell they're talking themselves out of it. And then they keep talking themselves, and then they start to cry. I miss them so much. I love them so much. The next thing they're on their little sat phone. Hi, I'm tapping out. Come and pick me up. And then they show the next scene, the boat's coming to get them. Like you can tell when they're tapping out. And I kind of do that to myself sometimes when it's about going into the dojo. I'm tapping out. Wrenchy Ryan, you got to run the school for me. I won't be in tonight. And he's like, okay. Like he doesn't care. He's there 6 days a week. So I just recently started giving him some days off where he's just out of the blue. Stay home, relax, take some time with your girlfriend, watch a movie. I'll take care of things. But you're right, though. It's hard, and social media is a brutal thing because everyone's a fake social media millionaire. I know a few right now that are friends of mine that claim to have fast cars and beautiful apartments, and they're not living where the videos are showing, not driving what the videos are showing, and they're broke. I'm loaning some of the money and helping them out, and they're claiming that they're 6-figure income success stories, right? And they're killing themselves, right? So we have to be careful that we don't compare ourselves to others and the journeys of others, right? And you were also talking about like signups, right? That toll of
There's an emotional toll, yeah, with regards to signups, retention issues, and then
quitting.
obviously, yeah, financial stress,
Yeah.
right? I didn't know that there should be especially when I started, I didn't know that there should actually be a framework of you should only pay up to this percentage of your gross profit for your rent, to your
Right.
marketing, to your payroll, to your miscellaneous. I didn't know that in the beginning, and cash flow was a big problem for me in the beginning because I didn't understand all of that,
Right.
and living beyond my means with regards to just like let's just say I got it paid in full. I'm like, well, that's payday. And then I would
Yeah.
still pay myself other money. It was just it was stupid in the beginning, and that helps to attribute to some of the burnout that you can have when you don't put that framework on yourself and follow those things. So
It is. It's definitely like, look, just that hamster wheel of student count. right? Like I have a client, I've been coaching him for like 12 years. We've been working together and he's doing well. And I helped him build like a real estate empire, and he's got like 14 rental properties now and so much stuff he does well. But he used to be fixated on, I can't believe I just lost 5 more people. I'm like, let's focus on the dollar and cents part of it, right? Like how much money, and he always, no matter how much he lost or how much he gained, he was always going up financially. So he grew from X to, this, and he makes a decent amount of money every single month. So now here's the most important part that people forget. It's like, how much can you keep? Because I see so many people that they have 300-400 students, but they're not making any money because they have, a 20,000 square foot location. They have 7 or 10 employees on staff. It's all that old saying, big hat, no cattle, that kind of thing. Like you look like you're a rich cowboy, but you're really broke because you don't have anything in the bank. Yeah. So we got to worry about that. And you're right, though, it's daunting where you put, this is the part that retention that bothers me. You put so much time into someone, and then they just snap of a finger. Yeah, he decided he doesn't want to go. I'm not going to force him. I don't want to force him to do anything he doesn't want to. He wants to quit. Okay, but ma'am, he's doing so good. He's got so much talent. Nah, he just doesn't want to do it anymore. I'm like, but imagine if he stuck with it, where he would be in 5 years. Yeah, we don't force our kids to do anything. So like, what can you do? I often want to like handcuff them and say, no, it's not happening, but you can't do that.
No. And, Mr. Bean is really good at that. Yeah. Okay. Well, basically their loss, like, and I'm thinking in my head going, no, it's our loss. Like,
Yeah, but he's right though, because it's really not his loss. Even though he's responsible for the income and building the school and running the school, bottom line, it's your loss because you're the owner. So like when the checking account to pay the bills is running a little bit light, because we had the attitude of, well, it's their loss. We lost 10, 15, 20 people. It majorly affects our financial landscape, I call it. And it's daunting and draining.
Well, and in his defense, it's not like your statement. It's not his attitude on the reason why they.
No, I get it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think anything is malicious and he doesn't care, because he does, but he's right. I wish you and I wish I could think that way. Like, it's just there. And I had a guy that, gave me the letter that he's moving on not too long ago, and I wrote, okay, that's it. I didn't write thank you, why, I wish you wouldn't, let me talk you out of it. We have a really great, I was like, okay. I didn't even say have a great life. I just said, okay. And that was the end of because I didn't want to put more time and effort into it, because it'll keep me up at night. It'll frustrate me because I take it more personally. Like, it's like when you have a relationship and one person, whether let's say I'm dating a girl and she broke up with me, I'm worried more about what I did wrong. Why didn't it work? How could I get her back? And they're already going out dancing. Like my teacher, yoga teacher, had a saying. He says, while you're worrying about what everyone else is feeling and saying, they're out tap dancing. That shows his era, right? They're out tap dancing, having the time of their life, while you're worried and you're figuring it out and trying. And they don't really, it's not affecting them whatsoever.
Yeah. They could care less about you.
Yeah. So I love, we said, what are our coping strategies, right? You and I chatted about that, and, setting boundaries over your time and energy. We just talked about that, right? It seems like the people we put the most time into are always the ones that give us the most headaches and give us the most trouble, and leave like that, they're gone. No recourse, no respect, no thanks. And by the way, if you have a cancellation fee that they have to pay, now they'll say to you, oh, you're all about the money. All you want is that cancellation fee. Not like, thank you so much. My kid needed a lot of help. You gave him the time. You spent the time. Like, I had a mom with 2 autistic kids, and they were hard. For 3 years, we dealt with them. Kid running out of the class, running into the parking lot. Disrespect, because he had autism. He had a lot of issues, right? And the parent, when she wanted to leave, she didn't want to pay the cancellation fee. And then she turned on me. Well, you've always been about the money. All you care about. I'm like, oh my God, I gave your kids so much. I've lost more students because of those kids than I kept, But I didn't care because I loved those kids. And now she turned on me and really hit deep. You're about money. All you care about is money. All you think about. And I'm like, God, I wish you would have said that when I was spending extra time every week, 3-4 times a week with your kids. I would have kicked them out way sooner.
Or you would have charged extra for that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree. Setting boundaries around your time, also your energy, just even your mental faculties, I think are important. And I'll give you, this just happened yesterday. I was talking to our program director in Bradley, and she said, hey, just to let you know that so-and-so wanted to do open mat for this Friday. Well, we don't have an open mat on the first Friday of the month that we're open because we have our storm team training. Right. So it's an 1.5-hour storm team class. And he said, well, can someone come in early, or can, they come in late because my kid can't make it on Wednesday and we can't make it the following Friday because we're going to be out of town. And Mrs. POTUS just said, no, I'm sorry. They can't. And she was telling me, she's like, look, they were asking for special treatment and stuff.
Right.
And normally if I didn't create people and have that barrier, I would have done it.
Right.
But she's so looking out for me that she's, look, I'm just telling you what happens. So if they bring it, because this guy's got my personal phone number and everything. And because I just want you to get a heads up that I told him no.
Good.
And, and I'm like, thank you. But I know that I will succumb to those things.
Right.
And so I had to create some sort of barrier to make sure that I do. Yeah. So that's
you got to build that wall, right? And it's interesting. I used to have a program manager that people thought was my wife. Her name was Maria. And she was the one that I made sure that no matter what, people wanted to cancel, they didn't want to pay, they had a problem, they had an issue, you got to talk to Maria. I don't handle that stuff. I'm just a teacher. And meanwhile I did, but I'm like, you handle it, because she would be like, nope, sorry, that's the way it is. And people would be like, oh, she's so hard nosed, nasty. She's so straightforward. I'm like, yeah, she's doing her job, right? It's not fun when you don't get what you want, because people will go from loving you to hating you because they didn't get what they wanted, whether it would be canceled the membership, or they had to pay when they didn't want to, or they didn't get their belt when they thought they should have. All of a sudden, I've had people that compared me to two people, Jesus Christ and Hitler, in the same conversation. I'm like, how is that possible? Those two people don't fit on the same page. But that's how quickly you could go from being really great to being from a hero to zero, right?
Yeah, or negative, but yes.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't rhyme.
So offloading, assigning, giving and delegating activities that are just way below your pay grade, things that you don't need to do that they could do for you. Like, I started doing a lot of these things all myself just because I did it. I didn't have to ask anyone. But now I'm back to like, hey, listen, I need for you, when you come in, you got to empty all the garbage pails. You got to make sure you sweep up and dust, and then you're gonna check the bathrooms for toilet paper and paper towels and all that stuff. Like, why should I have to do that when I have staff that I'm paying that could do it for me? So you got to delegate. And even if you delegate for free, some people will just help you, and you could delegate and take a lot of that stuff off your plate.
Yeah. So I would, and encourage school owners to find at least one thing to offload.
Yes.
And personally, like, if you're asking me, what I would say is, find the thing that you hate doing the most and get rid of that the quickest.
Right.
You would be amazed at what that makes you feel like. And then second to that is, find the thing alongside of that. Like, if you're looking for a second thing to get rid of, find the thing that, you are, find the thing that you are good at, that you enjoy doing. And then whatever that is, you do it. And then all the other things, you make a list of all the other activities, and then you find ways to start getting rid of those. So if there's 20 things that you do, let's just say, but there's only 3 things that you enjoy doing, the other 17, you need to start looking at how you can delegate and get rid of those. And they may not all happen at once, right, but slowly over time that's going to do that.
Yeah. Look, I'm reading a really good book, Duane. You'd probably love it. I got it because I heard the guy. He was a guest speaker with Tony Robbins. His name is Trent Shelton. Okay. And the book is called Protect Your Peace. Protect Your Peace. And he was an ex-NFL football player for different teams, NFL teams, and then he got cut, and then, he went through depression and drugs and alcohol, but he came back, and now he's a public motivational speaker. But throughout the book, the different chapters are about protecting your peace, protecting your time. He reminded me of you. He's like, I have early morning time that's my own. I will not answer the phone. I don't talk to people. I don't email. I don't text. That is my morning. He says the only people allowed in my morning are my family, immediate family, and that's it. And then he has, his time that he locks out to go to the gym or to meditate or pray. And it's really, really interesting. And that's, we chat about mental maintenance, right? Just like physical training, going to the gym, meditation, spiritual relaxation, yoga. Like, we have to take care of ourselves, right? So I love decompressing. I mean, people know I love TV and movies. I watch a ton of it. And some people call that an escape. And I also consider it an escape where I just enjoy being there and relaxing. Me and my wife sit, we hold hands, we watch television. We're like, wow, that was great. American Idol. You watch Idol, right?
Yeah, we didn't watch last night's, Monday nights. So we are a little late on that. But she was also gone last week, so we're going to have to play catch up.
Yeah,
so.
It's such a good show, and I'm always like, the stories that they tell and all the origin stories and the heartbreak and all that. But
I'm impressed with Carrie Underwood. I wasn't I wasn't sure. I like her as a person. There are some of her songs that I can't listen to just because she hits a pitch that I don't enjoy. It's just me. You know what I mean?
Well, I was telling my wife yesterday, on a scale of 1 to 10, when it comes to beauty, I said my wife is to 10. I said, Carrie Underwood is like a 9.5. Like, that's for her. I said, so you're way more beautiful than she is, but she's 9.5. She's not hard on the eyes at all. But what a talent. And I love the fact that she went through the whole entire process.
Yes.
Right. Like, so anyway, so we talked about that mental maintenance, whether it be TV or a movie or going for a walk or whatever it is, you got to find time, because if all you do is work, life becomes boring real quick.
Yeah, and I just want to, I know what you mean when you said find time. I really think you have to schedule the time.
Yeah.
So, I don't think you were not saying that, but I want to kind of drill down on that and say, look, you have to schedule that mental maintenance for yourself.
Yeah, I always tell people, you can't find the time, you have to make the time, right?
Yes. And then reconnect with, and you got to reconnect with your why, remembering what your purpose is. And I will say, as you age, I think your why changes sometimes. I think it's not always the same, right?
No, it has to. Like, look, when we're young and we first have little babies, right? And they're young and they're infancy, and then they're 4, 5, 6. As they grow, our priorities change. And now that, let's say, for example, my daughter, she's 25, she has a boyfriend, she has a full-time job, our priorities change, and, you have to change with it. Like, I'm looking at, like, my wife and I in a few weeks are going to Florida, to our house down in Florida. And we so enjoy it. It's almost like we just unplug when we're there. Like, we're at our house, the weather's nice, we have our favorite restaurants. And that, we both say to ourselves, that's what life's all about, enjoying life. Because look, I'm 60. If I could live, I hope to God that I live to 80, 85, right? Like, that would be amazing. But let's say I just live to like 80. I only have 20 years left. I got 20 more Christmases, 20 more summers, 20 more birthdays. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a lot of time. Like, I can't believe we're in the, the 4th month of the year already.
Right.
Like, it's just insane. Like, when you look at it, you go like, wow. So if you don't enjoy life and you're always working and you're unhappy with what your results are at your job, you're going to be miserable. So yes, the why you do what you do, why do you run a school, why do you teach, all those things are what will probably fuel you more often than not.
Yeah. And I can see now at the age that I'm at, I'm 51, how someone can have a midlife crisis where, now they're not connected with what their why is now. They're trying to reconnect with what their why was prior, but it's shifted, but they didn't shift with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. When I was in my 30s, I bought my first sports car, and people called it a midlife crisis car. I said, man, that sucks because that means I'm only living to 60 then. Like, that's terrible. Like, don't say that. That means I'm dying soon. But yeah, it will shift and change, and life is, hey, listen, why do we live? What is the question? Why do we live is to have a fruitful life. And a lot of it has nothing to do with more money and all that other stuff. If you think about the things that you enjoy, normally those are the things that are the least expensive.
Oh, definitely. It's just, it usually revolves around food and drink and activity that costs money. Like, that's the only part that costs is that part. But yeah. So, what do you do when, the motivation is gone? Like, that's the other question that I think we need to make sure that we answer for ourselves, because, if we don't come up with a way to become motivated again. And who was it? Michael Dolphy's. He wrote that book where motion before motivation, or something like that. Right. Where and if I screw up the title, I please forgive me. But basically, the premise of the book was, you gotta discipline yourself to do what you need to do, and then the motivation will come. So show whatever it is, like if you got to make a game out of it or whatever. I know, so I'll give you, for instance, yesterday, I was creating some things that I do every single week, and then posting. So I wanted to see, okay, how long is it going to take me to do my social media posting for the whole month? And I'm like, okay, can I get it done in 30 minutes? Right. And so I set a timer. And I didn't want to do it. Like, I knew it needed to be done, but I had to make a game out of it. And now I know that I can get it done in 30 minutes. Wow. And so now next month when I go to do it, I'm going to allow myself 30 minutes, but I'm going to try to beat that time. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm going to try to make a game out of it, if that makes sense. Well, in that, it totally makes sense. And that's interesting, because in that book with Trent, the Protect Your Peace, he says if you allocate a certain amount of time for work, most of the time people, if they say they're going to do a thing in an hour, and let's say it only takes them 10 minutes, they'll drag it out because they got time. He said, but so he tries to crunch it down and say, okay, his hour task, he's going to get it done in 20 minutes. And then he often finds that he gets it done in 20 minutes. So it's not really an hour task. It's only a 20-minute task. Yeah. And this is the bad thing about me as a boss, where I see that I give people assignments, and then they get them done quick, and then I just keep piling stuff on them. And they think like, hey, if I get it done, now I have time to relax. I get time to sit, which the reality of it all is, no, if you could do it quickly, let's just keep on doing more. Like, let's get more done so that the company could grow and be better and so on. Nope, I agree. And the other thing I would encourage school owners is, make a like a reignite list. Mm-hmm. So something that you can start to get small wins that are going to give you this motivation, the quick spark. Like, okay, I feel like I accomplished that. Okay, I got that done. As small as it is, that no matter what it is, you got it done, and now you're motivated to do the next thing because you got this, this list of 3 items that, or maybe are minute, but just something to help reignite you. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah, it does. And that's like what I call goal setting. Like, I love goal setting 101, like I'll set my A, B's, and C's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, A 1, 2, 3, 4, B and C. And then I start chopping it off my list. Like, I already have so much done on my list today, but I'll write down simple tasks too, because I like that sense of accomplishment. Like, some people might not write it down. Shower, eat breakfast, have some tea, sit with your wife, like whatever it is. Those to me are all part of my daily things. I want to know what I did. So like, even I write it all down. So like, if someone ever asks me, like, where were you on, I'm going to get arrested on the 14th at 7 p.m. I'll just go, hold on, I'm going to get to my calendar. And then I'm like, hey, I was at my dojo on that day teaching, blah, blah, blah. Like, I have everything in my Franklin Stephen Covey calendar, Covey management system. So it's important. So I love the reignite list too, Duane. I think because, we have to, we want to remind ourselves all the time of the successes. And then, like Tony Robbins says, celebrate. I'm bad. I set a goal, I achieved the goal, my next goal is waiting.
Like I never really take time to really revel or celebrate in the accomplishment very long because I'm already on to the next task. And then it just becomes like a conveyor belt of tasks.
Yeah.
So you got to take time to appreciate it.
And I will say, the way that you measure the success, because we have short memories.
Yeah.
We really do. But the way that you want to measure that success is, not where you are going, but where you came from. So that's where you look back and you go, yeah, I got this done. I got that done. I accomplished this. I was able to do that. And that's how you actually measure that success.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is use other martial arts school owners, friends, peers, mentors, to give them a call, talk to them, hey, go out to breakfast like you guys do, on Wednesdays. I'm kind of jealous for that, but get that reset perspective, and it's okay, and don't hold on to the guilt. Like, don't be guilty of going, man, I feel guilty. I'm stepping out on this floor and I'm teaching, yet I don't feel like I want to be here.
Right.
So I'm putting on this facade, because all those parents that went to work that day, I can assure you that 98% of them didn't want to go to their job anyways. And they had to put on a face like they wanted to be there anyhow, even though, and some of them, I don't know, maybe at least 20% of them didn't put on that face, and they showed that they didn't want to be there. Right.
Right.
So we're not alone in that.
Yeah. And you got to give self permission to rest without guilt. Like, for example, I honestly can't stand when the motivational gurus are out there going like, you got to work 24/7 and, day and night. If you're not working, you're lazy and you're not moving forward and you're not moving ahead. I'm going like, look, I've been working my whole life. Like since I'm 16, I own my own business. But I'm like, you do need to enjoy life. Like, if not, you end up working until the day you die. How many people have died on the job? Like cops and firefighters and just people at their job where they have a heart attack or they get electrocuted by, like, you're working. So why can't we give ourselves permission to enjoy? Like, really be cognizant and aware. Like, I like entertaining at my house and my pool, and I love, like, last year we didn't do it much, and the year before was a little bit less, but the year prior to that, every weekend we had family and friends over. And you just it forces you to take time and be present with those people and just appreciate who they are. And you don't have to cook barbecue. You just order food in. Everyone has a good time and you just enjoy life. Or, like I said, life is too short. So many people are dying. Like, look, Val Kilmer just passed away. Ed Norton just passed away. I mean, like, all these people that are, celebrities and not just celebrities, but every day, I'm going to a funeral tonight. And it's just like, if you don't take the time now, people will just talk about you when you're gone and miss you.
Yeah.
Right. That was one thing Keanu Reeves said. They said, what do you want people to think about you when you're gone, when you die? He goes, I want people to think I miss him. That's it. That's what he said. He wanted it for them to think.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
so like, and how do you get people to feel that way? You spend more quality time with them and just love them and share with them, right?
Absolutely. So just to remind you guys, listen, you're not weak. If you're feeling tired, frustrated, and demotivated, you're human. And that's what makes all of us up. So don't isolate yourself. Reach out to others in the industry, reach out to other friends. The problem with entrepreneurs and school owners in general, since that's obviously who we're talking to, is we are isolated. Most of us don't have a community like you have, where you have martial arts school owners around you, that you go to breakfast every Wednesday with. All those school owners that I have, they have day jobs that are in our, I'm the only full-time school in our area.
Right.
And even if they did do it full time, I don't know that, we would go out and eat. Like, you see, so
just let me interrupt you on that. Like, we've been doing this for years, but like all of my friends are best friends. And my ex-wife used to say to me, Allie, why do you share so freely with everyone? And one of my good friends said it to me the other day. He says, people know that you give as much as you can to people and share, especially with school owners, and share. And you and I have done this on the podcast, but sometimes you just got to go out of your way, set up that, even if it's once a month, you set up a dinner And I used to do a thing called the UMAC, United Martial Art Council. And every month, all but about 15 of us school owners would get together at different restaurants, and we'd all pay our own way. And there was a topic, marketing tips for the month. And everyone would just write out a little note, and we would discuss it around the table and then just hang out and have fun and joke. And we all talk about little Johnny who's licking the mirror, and this kid who's, doing a cartwheel and poop is flying out of his pants. And, it's just like silly things that we deal with, right? So you could do it, but you just got to take the time to go out of your way to make it happen.
Yep, agreed. And then, one other thing too, I just want to quickly say before we, kind of close out, but, even if you're not feeling 100%, 100%, you're still making a difference. And I know I had shared this with you before the call, but last 2 Fridays ago, we had a makeup test for one of the kids that was in the 3 and 4-year-old class. And my wife actually came to the new studio we were going to go out to eat after that makeup test. And so we did the test. The test took like 15 minutes. I mean, it wasn't that, one person, it was quick. But, the mom was talking to my wife, and then she, they left and we're closing up. And I was telling my wife, I'm like, man, I didn't want to do that. Like, I was not in the mood. And my wife goes, well, she complimented about you. And she goes, and then my wife said, I didn't see that. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, as long as it wasn't noticed that I, was not into it, didn't feel like being there. And that's where I'm saying, even if you're not 100%, you're still making a difference.
Well, that's the thing. And people don't know before we start, we get on the phone and we're on here talking before we start recording. And this morning you text me, you said, oh, are we doing our podcast? And I'm like, oh, I didn't, you and I hadn't chatted because we were off last week. And I said, oh, I don't know. I thought we weren't doing it. And you're like, okay, we'll just do it a different day. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. You're right. And then you came up with this topic, and it's because we're both feeling a little melancholy, right? So I want school owners to understand that no matter how successful you are, no matter what you do, there are going to be days where you kind of don't feel like you're really going to be able to give it your all. And you need to understand that that's just the way it is. And you got to find methods and, mentors, and read positive motivational books to push you past it, and, keep out going, so do you want to go over some quick action steps with people?
Yeah, I would just say, maybe go back and kind of state, what your why is now, or maybe do a reignite list. Take a look at, what's one thing that you can actually delegate and get rid of right now off your plate that you hate the most. And then, kind of revisit that again, and then just keep working that list, if that makes sense, that process.
Yeah. And also, schedule that time. Don't let people guilt you into feeling bad because you love to watch TV. Like, it's funny, or watch a movie or whatever, or sit and listen to music, right? That it's not non-productive time, because you need downtime, right? You need to unplug. So try to schedule yourself at least one day over the next 2 or 3 weeks to unplug and just relax. Like, be okay. Don't go in, take the night off, whatever the case may be. Do it on a Sunday, shut off your phone, stay at home, watch some movies, get some popcorn, or do whatever you want to do to just enjoy that day and really unplug.
I agree. And that's why, like, for me, my Fridays, I try to make as light as I possibly can make, because nice. I almost want them to feel like it's a day off.
It should be. And by the way, reach out to fellow school owners. Like, maybe find someone in your area that you met at a tournament or that you've chatted with in the past, and say, hey, I don't know if you're interested, but I'm looking to maybe get together. We'll have lunch every once in a while with a few of our school owners, and, in the area. Like, everyone in my area, people think that we're all competition, but we're actually all friends. Like, so I have, like, there's 8 of us alone that are within like a 3 or 5, 10-mile radius of each other. And we all are pretty successful school owners, and we just go out, and most of the time it's just hanging out and just chatting, like getting together. It really is not, there are no topics discussed, we vent and we joke and we crack up, and, but it's just people who live the same life as you. You have something in common, right, with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, we're gonna be back in our next podcast with another episode that maybe will help you with lead you some clarity, passion, maybe even purpose. I don't know what we're gonna do next, but until we do that, I want everyone to take care of yourself because your school needs you. It needs you to be strong.
Absolutely. And if today's episode hit home, do us a huge favor. Leave a review, or go on and like us on iTunes or YouTube, and leave a review. Share our podcast with other school owners. And I had an old student who runs a dojo now in North Carolina reached out to me the other day and said, your podcast that you did, I think it was the one right before the one with Keith Vitale that we did. He goes, man, that just changed my entire perspective on how I'm going to run my school. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, share this with other school owners, let them know and have them like and share. And, we hope that you guys enjoy what we do.
Thanks, Allie.
All right, Duane, have a great day. Take care.
Now that's a wrap. Another episode of Martial Arts School Owner Talk is in the vast library. We appreciate you tuning in and being part of this incredible community. A huge thank you to everyone who makes this podcast possible, including our sponsors, such as EliteInsights.com, your go-to high-performing website company for martial arts schools, LeadHunterMedia.com, your expert in digital media and content creation for martial arts schools, AddHealthCoaching.com, helping school owners unlock a powerful revenue stream by providing the tools and framework to become a health coach. Thanks again for joining us. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share our show with other school owners and friends. See you on the next episode.